When did you decide that retirement was the best choice for you?
I didn't like the job I had. I went to the bank to see if I was financially stable. They said I was fine. I went in and I quit. Before that, I had jobs I liked and I wouldn't have retired, but this particular job was not at all what I wanted.
Right. Do you find that your retirement wage slash income fits your lifestyle?
It does now. For a little while, it wasn't. I think I was spending more than I was bringing in, or as much as, and it made it a little uncomfortable at times.
How has your lifestyle changed since retirement?
I was kind of bored when I first retired. I was about 5 years and I thought that I was going to go crazy. So I went back out and got a part-time job. It was, it wasn't a big job. So financially, it helped a little bit, do some of the things I wanted to do. And that way I didn't have to go after my income. That was what we were sort of living on. And then after about 7 years of that, I just found that my body could not stand up for the length of time I needed to stand. Even though I really liked my job, I just figured it was time to retire. And so I retired from my part-time job about 4 years ago.
So, you've retired twice. Have you ever felt guilty about retiring?
Never.
Was there any social pressure related to you retiring?
Whatsoever. I miss the people I worked with. Whenever I changed jobs or when I did retire, I miss those people. But other than that, no, there was no pressure. I was ready.
Did you experience social isolation during retirement?
At the beginning, when I first retired from my career, I did because I was so used to being so busy all the time and rarely having time to spend time with my husband or my grandkids. And the second time I retired, I was fine because I had friends around me. I knew a lot of people. So no, I didn't feel that.
How was the transition from working full time to retirement for you?
Found it for the first maybe 2 3 months. It was nice. I could sleep in. I could watch TV as late as I wanted. I could play games on the computer. And then after a while, that got very boring. And I thought there's got to be more to life than this. And that's when I started looking for a part-time job. However, when I retired the second time, I was definitely ready. I had a walking buddy and I could walk every morning and afternoon. And I felt very comfortable being retired, still doing what I wanted to do when I wanted to do it, traveling a bit here and there. And I certainly didn't regret retiring the second time at all.
Do you think there is a difference between genders when it comes to retirement?
Absolutely. Just from the people that I've seen, most men, when they retire, don't want to do anything. They're quite content to do nothing. Women, on the other hand, will go out and they'll make more friends. They're more outgoing. They go to swim clubs, they go to book clubs, they want interaction with their peers. So they're more likely to go out and do something about their lack of people that they work with. And men don't seem to care. Now, I've met a few men that are still, once they retire, they think that now they're going on to the second job, but very few men are like that. Women, on the other hand, are constantly looking for more interaction.
Are there any negatives to retirement that you have personally found or that you have observed in others?
I think one of the things when you retire from a career, that's something that you've worked at and finally obtained. The biggest loss is the loss of friends, your work friends, because depending on where you live, you don't associate with those type like that person anymore because they're too busy. So then you have to make new friends. So I think that's one of the hardest things to do is to adjust, and not just for women, I think for men too. they have to adjust the people they know to people around them instead of people they work with. And their lives are then controlled by, oh, I want to go visit my grandkids, or I want to see my son, or whereas before it was all work, work, work. So in a way, you become more family oriented, even though you might have thought you were before. Now it's like, yeah, your family becomes very important. So yeah, that's about, and I find that with a lot of other women that I've talked to about being retired. They miss their friends, they miss their work people.
Have your social and family supports changed since retirement? And do you have social and family supports during your retirement?
I think that I have a certain amount of family support. I mean, I see my grandkids and I see my sons, but um, it's more of a personal support. Whereas when you're working, it's um, it's not as intense and it's not family oriented. It's about your job and what kind of support they give you there. So it's an entirely different way of supporting you. Now, when I was working, I found that I had support and I saw my grandkids when I could. And then when I wasn't working, of course, you don't see them as often, but part of that is because they're growing up. While you're busy working, they're busy growing up. And then when you're ready to see more of them, you don't, because they've got their own lives and they have to do what they can to, support themselves. So yeah, it makes a difference.
Yeah, I guess in a way, um, your life and their life are going in different trajectories, and your lives are almost parallel at certain stages in life.
Good way of putting it.
Interesting. Thank you. What are some positives to retirement? You mentioned travel. Are there any other things that you would like people to be aware of, be it just in general or for those who are going to retire?
The things you have to be aware of is that you can now join a book club and actually read a book. You can watch a series of TV programs if that's what you're interested in. You can go to all the different clubs. Like there's where we are right now, there's a club for any type of card that you want to play. There's a club for it. So you can join things like that so that you get out and meet people in your community. I find that if I want, or if my grandkids want, I will visit them. Like I'll go out of my way to go and see them. Whereas before I couldn't do that because I was too busy working. So I get to see my grandkids and my sons more often if they're available, not just when I'm available, which is the way it was before.
Now, I am aware that you live in a retirement community, and I'm just wondering, is there a difference between living in a retirement community from not living in one, be it positive, negative, or just in general?
Before we weren't living in a retirement community and we had like neighbors, but not like we do here. And you saw people, but sort of, it was more casual. Here, there's a lot of these things going on. Now with COVID, there's not as many, but there will be again. And there's a lot of things going on where, you can meet your neighbors and there's more interaction between like your neighbors. If my husband is out shoveling his driveway, next thing you know, there's 3 people shoveling the driveway, not just one. So people here are very willing to help you with whatever you're doing. I had an illness and my neighbors came over and they gave me a cake or a flower. And not that my other neighbors wouldn't have done that, but considering I'd only known these people for a month, for them to do that, I found was really nice. So I find that here, there's more a sense of community. There's a community center where you can go and do exercises, you can swim, you can do track, you can do games. So there's so much more available. Whereas when you're living sort of in a general neighborhood where most of the people you have as neighbors work, you don't have that same kind of community feeling.
Now, as you are my grandmother, and I know your husband as he is my grandfather, I know that you had observed a positive effect on Grandpa from one house to the other, and I was wondering if you'd be willing to talk about that a little bit.
The biggest difference I found was when we first moved here, we had a veranda. And my husband is very social, but people have to make the first move. So before, he could sit in the room and look out at the lake, and he didn't have to interact. Now he was sitting on the front porch and he interacted with people walking their dogs. So he was more available for interaction. He was willing to do it. And I think that was the biggest thing that I saw.
So it seems like the retirement community has given just a general positive social interaction for both you and Grandpa. So I don't know if you're aware, but it's actually good for your health to have positive social interaction as well as for your cognitive health, which is a great resource for you because it seems like it's a really loving community. Like you said, they're willing to just come over, hang out, say hey, and that's a really great thing to have in all ages of life. Is there anything you would like to tell people about retirement or the transition from working to retirement? It can be people younger, future retirees, or people who are currently retired as well.
The things I think you have to do is have a hobby. Don't think that because you're retiring, you're going to retire away from the world, because you will want some interaction. So if you are somebody that is only about work and then you retire and you find that all of a sudden you don't have that anymore, it can be very depressing. And you wonder, well, like, what's your life going to be like? Is this all there is? And then if you don't do something about it and enjoy and enter into other relationships with other people, it's going to be very lonely living by yourself on your own. I must admit, in this community that we're in right now, I think over 50% of the people here have a dog. And that's one of the ways you meet your neighbor. You're walking your dog. I mean, I was walking the dog by myself. I met another girl. Now I have a walking buddy. And it's really nice that you can enjoy the outdoor time with somebody else that you can just talk to. So yeah, I think it helps a lot. Helps you get to know your neighbors.
So, would you say that overall you're just saying during your retirement, like make sure you have connections and you're just going out and doing things because you don't want to be self isolating, and that you can just be you, and even though your work life is over, you still have the rest of your life to fully enjoy to yourself.
And not just to you, but to other members of your family as well. I mean, when you are younger and your grandchildren are younger, you don't have enough time to spend with them. Now that you're older and they're older, you want time, but they don't have time to spend with you. So enjoy the little bit of time you can when you can, and be really aware that just because you now have the time doesn't mean that other people have the time. So you have to make other friends. You have to do other things to keep yourself busy, to keep your mind busy, so that you're not just focusing on yourself thinking, oh, poor pity me. My kids don't love me because they're not there all the time. So they have a life too.
Would you say that it's easier for you to make connections now that you're not working all the time, or how do you feel about that?
Connections. Like, I think that the friendships that I make now are going to last longer than work associates. And part of that, of course, is because you're making a different kind of friend. They know more about your personal life maybe than the people at work did. So they're more of a friend than your work acquaintances. And you have to realize there's a big difference between the two, you know. So that's the way I feel.
What would you say the main differences are between work relationships and relationships when you're not working, personal connections, or even just retirement specific relationships now that you're not working all the time?
What I find is when you're working, you have relationships with people you're working with, but very few of them last once you're out of the job, or you change your job, or you get promoted. If you get promoted, you don't have the same level of intimacy with your coworkers because you're then the boss, right? So that changes. Then when you move on, you find that when you go into another position or another company, that you have to make friends again because your other friends are no longer there. They have their own clique sort of that they're with, and you're no longer part of that. So you then have to make other friends. Now, when you make friends after you retire, I think that they last longer because they're more of a friend-based, not a work-based. And so your relationship is different in both what you talk about, what you do together, you know, like whether it be playing cards or going to watch a hockey game. The friends that you have after you're retired are more of the type of friends that are interested in what you're interested in. Whereas before, they're only interested in the work that you do together and a little bit of your personal life, but it's more your work together. So that's the difference, I think. One is more personal level, what you like doing. I like quilting. I've met a lot of people who like quilting, and some of them have become friends. I like to walk. So I've got somebody who I walk with, and she's a friend, and she can confide in me and I can confide in her. Whereas I don't think I would do that quite so readily with somebody I worked with. Now, once in a while, you do have a friend. I have a friend that I've known and worked for 20 years, and we're still great friends, even though both of us have gone off in different directions for our work.
That's great. Thank you for the interview today. And do you have any closing statements that you would like to say?
The thing I want people to realize that when they retire, go out and enjoy yourself. You don't know how long it's going to last. So enjoy yourself and, you know, try and be there for the kids, but also let them be there for you and enjoy your life.
Are there any negatives to retirement that you have personally found or that you have observed? Words?
Enjoy your life. You're going to say hi?
Hi, Katie.
Hi. How now I get to know more about you. How did your life child There's Jazzy.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's Grandpa.